Hey web designers, today I am in Wix Studio and I wanted to talk about SVG images or icons, and I am hoping that I can save you a lot of frustration if you are a graphic designer or a web designer and you are new to Wix, which this is my situation here. Here are some tips about how you can design and implement with SVG icons in a smooth way. All right, so first, my goal was to make a block of icons with titles that would be responsive and group right into 2 columns on mobile and probably 5 on desktop. All right, and first, that was kind of difficult to figure out the best way to do it. I started with working in advanced grid and the advanced CSS grid, and I tried the flex grid, the flex container that Wix had. And I will tell you what I found best, because in this situation, I want the icons to be the exact same size as the text, and I'm using them as sort of cards, right? So I used the repeater and it has been perfect. I would definitely recommend. So if you go to plus and it is under repeaters, and you can see there's even kind of an example of a picture and text. So I used this first one, so an icon and text. And when I make a card, any change to the card, so let's say we would make the background white. It does it to all of them, right? So any change that you make to one changes to all. So that is really nice and allows for the consistency of, if you need your text perfectly aligned and you want your icons across the cards to be perfectly aligned, then the repeater is the out of the box component that you want to use in Wix. Now here's where I wanted to rip my hair out. First, if you make an SVG in Illustrator, to add it in Wix is really easy. So let's jump into Illustrator and I will show you. So I have all of these amenities icons. And how I've been used to working is I would create them or pull them from different icon sets to make the collection that I needed. And then I would make them so that they looked good as far as sizing with one another. And how I would keep that sizing as we move onto a website is by using the ViewBox, which is what it's called in the CSS code and XML script of the SVG, versus in Illustrator, we call it an artboard. And so when you export from Illustrator, you can say, let's just say we do export as, and I have SVG selected. And if I say use artboard, it is going to make that view box the size that I have my artboard set up. So typically in a website, if I'm coding it, that is the way that I would make sure that my icons translate to the same ratio and sizes once I'm in code. However, this is what we're going to find. So let's say I have done that, and I'm going to show you an alternative as also. If you have your vector selected, and if you say collect for export as a single asset, and we'll call this lockbox, and I'm going to shift click to get 2 of them. I have SVG set here. I'm going to say export. We're going to put them in this folder. Perfect. All right, so as promised, how to add an image. So first I have these cards, and if I say add media, it is going to let me upload. So I'm going to do lockbox, AC heater. and we'll say AC heater. Oh my goodness, right? So that just added it to every one of the cards. So this is how you can see how they are connected in the repeater. So I'm going to undo, Command Z. All right, so if I have my repeater active, now I can say add item. Now an item is what they're calling the card. And you can see I now have another card here, another item in my cards. All right, so now I can select the actual vector image. So that is considered a shape in Wix. So if you try to, let's just say I go up here and I say add elements and quick add, and I choose an image. Okay, so if you've dropped an image and you say change image and you try to select your SVG, it's going to say update, only images can be chosen. So number one, that's kind of frustrating because you're thinking, I see it in my images and in my site files, but you can't access it. So you cannot add an SVG through the image component. However, if you use add a shape, now from a shape, you can change your basic shape. Now you're still, you're going to automatically be media from Wix, but you can go into site files. And now you can choose your vector SVG and it will show up. All right, so add shape is the secret there. All right, so in our repeater, we can grab our image, change the basic shape. We're going to do the AC heater, add to page. We can change our word. I think it was in room, AC, and heat. Okay. Now, let's say we're looking here and we think it is too tight. We can do a few things. We can actually make the box itself a little taller, and that changes all of them. Right, so that's the consistency of the repeater, so that's really nice. So let's say we go back to this card and we say add item. Now it will start to stack. So this is the cards that they do continue to stack. I set how many items per row, and that's how we know how it is going to stack. If I come into my tablet view, you can see the change here is that I set it to 4. And when I come to mobile, I have it set to 2. And that is right here. So that is how you can change it for each of the views. All right, so what I ran into is that my icons, even though I set them up the way that I wanted them in Illustrator, every time I was placing them, I could not figure out the settings to be able to get the images consistent. I was selecting them, I was playing with in my gear settings. You can say keep original proportions. I was looking with scale size proportionately. I made sure I was in advanced settings and I was trying all different types of height, widths, combos, and I was just getting such an inconsistency across my icons. So what I realized was a few things. One, the ViewBox does not come into play in Wix. They strip it out. It's not part of it. So the only thing that is coming in is actually the shape, like the outline. The SVG is the size of whatever your content is. So what this meant I needed to do to get consistent icons is I needed to come back into Illustrator, and instead of aligning them with my artboards, I put in these guides and I actually made them and adjusted them so that they were all the same height. And that is how I'm basing mine, that they were all the same height. And now that they're the same height, I am able to keep them here to look consistent. So you are going to have to do your adjusting for sizes in Illustrator, not based on your artboards. So actually the file, just the vector, just the art is how wide your image is going to be, or your shape as they're calling it here. All right, the second part is that if you load in your SVG and it is only a fill color, you cannot have extra strokes. And I'm seeing that their recommendations are bring it in as black, but I'm not sure that that really matters. What does matter is that you don't have a stroke, that it really is just the fill. Then you can use this fill color and it will allow you to select and change the color of your icon, which is going to be really great for being able to do adjustments of opacity or color change and animation. So there's a lot of other things that you might want to just make sure that you're bringing them in a way where the Wix Studio can now adjust the color. All right, so the secret to be able to do that, if you do not know already. So let's say we're looking at this icon, and if I'm here, I can see that has a fill of black and a white outline. So in this case, the white outline was used to help make it the same stroke size as the other icons, because by default, it was a little bigger. All right, so how I would adjust this one, I'm going to make a copy so that you can see it. So we have a stroke and a fill. So I'm going to say Object Expand. That gives me my fill and my stroke. And what this does is now you can see it's a lot more blue, but basically it expanded the stroke. So now it is along the outside of the stroke, not on the inside. So now in this case, I would do Pathfinder Divide. This is going to allow me to grab the white. And now when I delete the white, it should actually delete all of that shape. So I have actually been able to make the black a little bit thinner. You can see sometimes depending on how your shape was made, you actually have a lot of other shapes going on in there that you have to continue to delete out until you get back to, you know, in this case, the black icon that I want. And you just keep deleting. All right, so now when I click on this, you can see that it's all fill. Okay, so that is what you want your icons to look like. You want it to be the fill, not the stroke. So if we look at something else, let's see if there's other ones that might still have. Okay, so like this one is all a stroke, right? So what you would do is Object, Expand, Fill and Stroke are checked. Now you can see the lines are around the outside, not on the inside. Now these are still individual shapes. So the next thing is going to be Pathfinder, and we're going to unite. Now you can see all those little lines have gone away, and this is actually a fill now of the icon. So this is the type of file that you want to be able to upload. All right, so the tips are use shape, not image. Make sure that your SVGs are filled, not stroked, and make sure that you do your sizing in Illustrator, because your ViewBox is not going to carry through. So if you're running into, you cannot get your icons to be the right kind of shape and the right ratio, and that some are large and some are small, then the secret is to adjust them outside of Wix first. And then the other thing is that if you are trying to make a block of icons, then I think the repeater is the perfect component for you. All right, so if you enjoyed this and found this useful, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe. This channel is Designer to Full Stack, and I am a graphic designer. And over the last 20 years, my skills have expanded into web development and full stack design. And so this channel has everything along that spectrum. So check out the description to see all the different categories where you might fall into. All right, happy designing.